The great chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent. Ambassador Park stood alone at the center of the circular floor, surrounded by thousands of seats rising up like a massive bowl. Creatures from hundreds of worlds watched him with eyes that gleamed in colors humans had no names for. Some had scales, others had fur, and some seemed to be made of light itself. But all of them wore the same expression. They thought Earth was finished. High Al spoke from his elevated throne. His voice came out in a series of clicks and whistles, but the translator in Park's ear turned it into words he could understand. The Dominion has issued their demand. You will surrender your world. You will join their empire. You will submit your people to their rule. What is your answer? Park looked around the chamber. He was a small man by human standards, thin and quiet. His black suit looked simple compared to the flowing robes and armor of the other ambassadors, but his face was calm. He had known this day would come. "We refuse," he said simply. The chamber erupted. Laughter came from 1,000 throats. Some species roared, others chirped, and some made sounds like breaking glass. The noise was deafening. Park waited. He kept his hands clasped behind his back. He did not look afraid. Al raised one long arm and the chamber fell quiet again. "You refuse. Human, do you understand what you face? They have assembled their war fleet. 847 ships wait at the edge of your system. They have weapons that can crack planets. They have shields that can withstand stars. Your species has been in space for barely 100 years. You have 12 colonies and 34 ships total. What can you possibly do against such power?" Park smiled. It was a small smile, barely there. "We will send a vessel to meet them." More laughter. This time it was even louder. A massive creature with 6 arms slapped the floor with all of them. Another being, made of what looked like living crystal, rang like a bell with amusement. Park waited for the noise to die down. "One vessel," Al leaned forward. "Against 847. Human, I have seen your ships. They are adequate for cargo transport and basic defense, but they are nothing compared to warships. Are you asking for mercy? Is this a desperate bluff?" "Neither," Park said. "We will send one vessel. It will meet the fleet wherever they choose, and that will be sufficient." The laughter stopped. Now there was only confused silence. Al stared at the human ambassador for a long moment. "You are serious?" "Completely." A new voice cut through the chamber. It was deep and harsh, like rocks grinding together. "The human makes jokes while his world dies." Park turned. Warlord stood in the visitors' gallery. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with dark red skin covered in ridged armor. His 4 eyes glowed yellow. Behind him stood a dozen warriors, each one armed and decorated with the symbols of countless victories. "Your species amuses me," Human said. He walked down the steps toward the chamber floor. Each footstep echoed like thunder. "You are brave, foolishly brave, but bravery without power is just another word for suicide." Park turned to face the warlord. He had to look up to meet those burning eyes. "Perhaps, or perhaps you don't understand what power really means." Laughed, it sounded like an avalanche. "I understand power very well. I have conquered 42 worlds. I have destroyed fleets 10 times larger than yours, and now I will add Earth to my list. Your one vessel will burn in space, and then my fleet will descend on your cities will fall, your people will kneel." "That won't happen," Park said quietly. "No," bent down, bringing his face close to the human. His breath smelled like sulfur. "Tell me, little human, what makes you so confident? What secret weapon do you possess? What miracle are you hiding?" Park didn't step back. He met the warlord's gaze without flinching. "You'll see when our vessel arrives." Straightened up, he looked around the chamber, spreading his 4 arms wide. "Did you hear that? The human has a secret, a surprise, a miracle weapon." He laughed again. "I have heard such claims before. Every species thinks they have something special, something unique, but in the end they all burn the same." Al cleared his throat. "Warlord, you have stated your terms. The humans have given their answer. According to council law, we must now set the conditions for this challenge." "Very well," said. He walked back to his position, his warriors falling in behind him. "My fleet will wait in the tiers of, it is a neutral zone. The nebula will provide a beautiful backdrop for the humans' destruction. You have 30 days to arrive. If your vessel does not come, we will consider it a surrender and proceed to Earth immediately." "We'll be there," Park said. Al looked at the human ambassador. There was something in his ancient eyes that might have been pity. "Ambassador Park, I must ask you one final time. Are you certain? The council can negotiate. Perhaps they would accept tribute instead of conquest. Perhaps we can find another way." "There is no other way," Park said. "They want submission. We choose freedom. Our vessel will meet their fleet in 30 days. Al sighed. It sounded like wind through dead trees. "Then it is decided. Let the records show that humanity accepted the challenge. May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on your species." The chamber began to empty. As the ambassadors filed out, Park could hear them talking. Most were already placing bets on how long the human ship would survive. Some gave it minutes. The optimists gave it hours. No one gave it a chance at victory. Park stood alone on the chamber floor for a moment. Then he activated his communication device. The hologram of a woman appeared in front of him. She wore a military uniform with the insignia of Earth Defense Command. "Minister Hansora," Park said, "it's done. They've accepted the challenge." "Good," Hansora replied. Her face was stern, but her eyes showed something else. Pride, perhaps, or determination. "I'll inform Captain Lee. The Indomitable will be ready." "They're all laughing at us," Park said. "Let them laugh," Hansora said. "They won't be laughing for long." The hologram disappeared. Park walked toward the exit. A small alien creature, something that looked like a floating jellyfish, drifted beside him. "Excuse me, Ambassador," it said in a high, musical voice. "I couldn't help but notice your confidence. I am a reporter for the Galactic News Network. Would you care to comment on your chances?" Park stopped and looked at the creature. "What do you think our chances are?" "Honestly, none. Every military analyst in the galaxy agrees. The fleet will destroy your vessel in the opening salvo. This isn't a battle, it's an execution." "Then you should watch carefully," Park said, "so you can report what really happens." He continued walking. Behind him, he could hear the reporter calling out more questions. He didn't answer. There was nothing more to say. In 30 days, the galaxy would see the truth. As Park boarded his shuttle back to Earth's embassy station, he allowed himself a small smile. They had all laughed. They had all dismissed humanity as weak and foolish. They had all made the same mistake that bullies always made. They confused quietness with weakness. They confused patience with fear. They would learn. The shuttle's engines hummed to life and carried him away from the council station. Through the viewport, he could see the stars. Somewhere out there, the fleet was gathering. 847 warships, all preparing to crush one human vessel. Park closed his eyes. In his mind, he could see the Indomitable. He had watched it being built. He had walked its corridors. He had spoken with its crew. He knew what it could do. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity didn't fight the way others expected. They didn't win through brute force or superior numbers. They won by thinking differently, by seeing solutions that others missed, by building weapons that didn't look like weapons at all. 30 days. That's all the time the galaxy had left to laugh. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched Earth shrink behind them. The blue and green planet grew smaller with each passing second until it was just another point of light among millions. He had left home before, many times, but this felt different. This time he might not return. "All systems are running smoothly, Captain," Commander said from her station. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes that never missed a detail. Her fingers moved across her console, checking readouts and data streams. "Engines are at optimal performance. Course is set for the tiers of nebula." "Thank you, Commander," Lee said. He was a quiet man, not given to grand speeches or dramatic gestures. His crew knew him as someone who led through example rather than orders. He trusted them to do their jobs, and they trusted him to make the hard choices when needed. The bridge was smaller than those on traditional warships. Only 15 stations, operated by 15 people who had volunteered for this mission. Every one of them knew the odds. Every one of them had chosen to come anyway. Lieutenant Minu looked up from his weapons console. He was young, barely 25, but his record was impressive. "Captain, I'm seeing a lot of traffic on the galactic networks. Everyone is talking about us." "What are they saying?" Lee asked, though he already knew. "Most of it isn't good, sir. They're calling us fools, suicidal, insane." Minu paused. "There are betting pools on how long we'll last. The longest prediction is 3 minutes after we enter weapons range." 3 whole minutes, Chief Engineer said from the doorway. He stepped onto the bridge, wiping his hands on a rag. His uniform was smudged with grease and his hair stuck up in odd directions. "That's almost generous." Lee smiled slightly. "How are things in engineering, Chief?" "Beautiful," said. His eyes lit up the way they always did when he talked about his engines and systems. "The containment fields are holding perfectly. The distribution network is running at 99.7% efficiency, and the payload is ready whenever you need it." "The payload," said softly. She glanced at Lee. "Sir, are we really going to do this, all of it?" "Yes," Lee said, "unless they surrender first." "They won't surrender," Minu said. "They don't know how." Lee nodded. He walked to the main and stared at the stars streaming past. "Then we'll teach them." In the medical bay, Doctor prepared for casualties she hoped would never come. She was organizing supplies when the intercom chimed. "Doctor, please report to the bridge." She arrived a few minutes later, curious. Lee rarely called her up unless he needed her expertise on something unusual. "You wanted to see me, Captain." "Yes," Lee said. He gestured to a display showing a star map. "We're going to pass near several inhabited systems on our way to the nebula. I want to know if we should stop and offer any kind of statement, some explanation of what we're doing." Studied the map. She was before she became a medical officer. She understood alien cultures and psychology better than most humans. "No, Captain, let them watch, let them wonder. The less we say, the more nervous they'll become." "You think silence will work in our favor?" "I think the galaxy expects us to beg or threaten or bluster. Doing none of those things will confuse them. Confusion is useful." Lee considered this. "All right, we maintain course. No stops, no statements." The days passed slowly. The Indomitable traveled through space at speeds that would have amazed the first human astronauts. But space was vast, and even at faster-than-light speeds, the journey took time. On the 5th day, they received their first direct contact from another ship. It was a merchant vessel, a species known for their curiosity and love of gossip. "Human vessel, this is Captain Hal of the trading ship Prosperity's Wing. We've been following your journey on the networks. Is it true you're going to face the fleet with just that one ship?" Looked at Lee, he nodded. She opened a channel. "This is Commander of the Indomitable. Yes, it's true." There was a long pause, then nervous laughter came through the speaker. "You're serious. You're actually going to fight them." "We're going to meet them," said. "What happens after that depends on their choices." "I see," Hal said. He didn't sound convinced. "Well, good luck to you. You're going to need it." Hal out. The channel closed. Minu shook his head. "Everyone thinks we're crazy." "Maybe we are," said. He was back in engineering, but his voice came through the intercom. "But we're the kind of crazy that changes things." On the 10th day, something unusual happened. A scout ship appeared on their sensors. It kept pace with them for several hours, maintaining a safe distance but clearly observing. "They're watching us," said, "probably sending back data to their fleet." "Let them watch," Lee said. "Can we tell what they're scanning for?" Minyu studied his console. Standard military scans. They're checking our hull composition, energy signatures, weapons systems. Nothing invasive, just curious. They're trying to figure out what makes us dangerous, said. She had stayed on the bridge more often lately, fascinated by the unfolding situation. They can't find anything unusual in their scans, so they're confused. That's because what makes us dangerous isn't something they can scan, said over the intercom. His voice held a note of pride. It's not about the size of our guns or the thickness of our armor. The scout ship eventually jumped away. Lee imagined the report it would send back. Human vessel unremarkable in appearance. No obvious weapon systems. No reason for confidence. He smiled. Good. Let them underestimate. On the 15th day, Lee gathered his senior officers in the small conference room. And Minyu sat around the table. A holographic display showed the nebula ahead and the estimated position of the fleet. We're halfway there, Lee said. I want to make sure everyone understands what's going to happen. We're not going into this hopping for luck or miracles. We're going in with a plan. But plans can fail. Things can go wrong. If anyone wants to reconsider, now is the time. No one spoke. No one looked away. All right then, Lee continued. Commander, review the tactical approach. Activated the display. We'll enter the nebula from the eastern edge. The gas clouds will provide some cover for our initial approach. Once they detect us, they'll likely form a sphere formation to attack from all sides simultaneously. That's their standard overwhelming force tactic. And that's when we activate the field, said. The field, Minyu repeated. He had studied the schematics but still found it hard to believe. Sir, I've run the calculations a dozen times. The power requirements are enormous. Can we really maintain it under that kind of assault? Yes, said firmly. I stake my reputation on it. Your reputation and all our lives, said, but she was smiling. Once the field proves effective, they'll try other tactics, continued. They might attempt boarding actions or try to wear us down through sustained fire. That's when we deploy the swarms. Lee watched his officers. They were calm, focused, ready. He felt a surge of pride. These people represented the best of humanity, not because they were warriors, but because they were thinkers, problem solvers, innovators. There's something else, Lee said. Once this starts, the galaxy will be watching. Every move we make will be recorded and analyzed. We need to be careful. We're not trying to humiliate we're trying to protect Earth. And show everyone that humans aren't easy prey, Minyu added. That too, Lee agreed. But with respect. We fight to win, but we don't gloat. We disable their fleet, we prove our point, and then we offer them peace. Do you think they'll accept? Asked. I don't know, Lee said honestly. But we have to try. If we just destroy them, we become what they are. Bullies with bigger weapons. That's not who we want to be. The meeting ended. The officers returned to their stations. Lee remained in the conference room for a few minutes, staring at the holographic nebula. Somewhere in that cloud of gas and dust, hundreds of warships waited. Thousands of warriors prepared their weapons and dreamed of victory. They didn't know yet. They couldn't imagine. Humanity had learned long ago that the best weapon wasn't the one that destroyed your enemy. It was the one that made fighting unnecessary. The Indomitable continued its journey. No more ships contacted them. No more scouts followed. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would happen when the small human vessel met the massive alien fleet. Lee recorded a final message to Earth. He sat in his quarters alone and spoke to the camera. This is Captain Lee. In 15 days we'll reach the tiers of, I want everyone back home to know that we're ready. We're not afraid. We trust in what we've built together. Trust in the science, the engineering, the human spirit that refuses to surrender. Whatever happens next, know that we chose this. We chose to stand. We chose to fight. And we chose to show the galaxy that humanity deserves respect. Lee out. He sent the message. Then he lay down on his bunk and closed his eyes. Tomorrow they would enter the nebula. Tomorrow everything would change. The Tears of Nebula was beautiful. Clouds of purple and blue gas stretched across millions of kilometers, lit from within by young stars being born in the cosmic dust. It looked peaceful, serene. But inside those clouds, 847 warships waited like predators. Warlord stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator. It was the largest ship in his fleet, a monster of metal and weapons that had broken entire civilizations. Around him, his warriors checked their stations and prepared for battle. They were confident. They had done this many times before. "Status report," commanded. Sub-Commander K consulted his displays. He was smaller than the warlord, but his 4 eyes were sharp and his mind was tactical genius. "All ships in formation, my lord. Sphere pattern as you ordered. We have complete coverage of the approach vector. The moment the human ship enters range, we can hit it from all angles simultaneously." "Good," said. He flexed his 4 arms, feeling the tension in his muscles. "How long until they arrive?" "Sensors detect them entering the nebula now. They should reach our position in approximately 10 minutes. 10 minutes, repeated. He looked around his bridge at the dozens of warriors manning the stations. "Hear that? In 10 minutes we will crush the human ship. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who refuse the Dominion. Prepare all weapons, full power to shields. I want overwhelming force from the first moment." The warriors roared their approval. The sound echoed through the massive ship like thunder. On a neutral observer platform hovering outside the nebula, Observer adjusted his recording equipment. He was a species known for their neutrality and dedication to documentation. He had witnessed hundreds of battles in his long life. This one would be the shortest. He felt almost sad for the humans. "Beginning recording," he said to himself. "Date, standard year 4012, day 207. Location, Tears of Nebula. Event, challenge engagement between Dominion fleet and human vessel Indomitable. Predicted outcome, total human defeat within the first minute of engagement." He checked his sensors. The human ship was approaching steadily. No evasive maneuvers, no apparent fear. Either they were incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Suspected the latter. On the Indomitable, Lee sat in his command chair and watched the sensor display. The fleet showed up as a massive cluster of red dots, arranged in a perfect sphere. It was an impressive formation, intimidating, designed to crush enemy morale before the first shot was fired. "How many weapons are pointed at us right now?" he asked quietly. Consulted her tactical console. Based on standard ship, approximately 12,000 individual weapon systems, energy cannons, missile pods, particle beams, kinetic kill vehicles. They're showing everything they have. 12,000, Minu whispered. "Against us." "Against us," Lee confirmed. "Chief, is the field ready?" His voice came through crystal clear from engineering. "Ready and waiting, Captain. Just say the word." "Not yet," Lee said. "Let them see us first. Let them make their decision." The Indomitable emerged from the purple clouds of the nebula like a ghost ship appearing from fog. It was small compared to the vessels, sleek and smooth where they were angular and brutal. It didn't bristle with visible weapons. It didn't look dangerous at all. "There," Kay said, pointing at the display, "the human ship." Leaned forward, studying the image. "That's it. That's what they're so confident about," he laughed, a harsh sound like rocks grinding. "It's barely larger than a cargo hauler. I see no obvious weapons, no heavy armor plating, nothing remarkable at all." "Perhaps they have hidden systems," Kay suggested. "Hidden systems won't save them from 12,000 weapons firing at once," said. He activated the communication channel. "Human vessel, this is Warlord. You have arrived as promised. I respect that. But your bravery changes nothing. You face the might of the Dominion. Surrender now and I will allow your crew to live as prisoners. Refuse and you will all die. You have 1 minute to decide." On the Indomitable's bridge, everyone listened to the Warlord's words. Lee let the silence stretch for a moment. Then he nodded too, She opened a channel. "Warlord," Lee said. His voice was calm and steady. "This is Captain Lee. I appreciate your offer, but we must decline. However, I will make you a counteroffer. Stand down your fleet and leave this place. No one needs to be hurt today." The silence that followed was absolute. Then laughter exploded across the communication channels, not just from the Devastator but from hundreds of ships. The sound was deafening. "Did the human just offer us mercy?" Kay said, his voice filled with disbelief. Laughter died. His face became hard as stone. "Your time is up, human. You have chosen death. All ships target the human vessel. Fire on my command." 847 ships adjusted their targeting. 12,000 weapons locked on to the small ship floating alone in the nebula. Every warrior on every ship felt the same thing: certainty. This was over before it began. Fire roared. The nebula lit up. Energy beams lanced through space in every color imaginable. Missiles streaked from launch tubes by the hundreds. Particle streams and plasma bolts and kinetic rounds all converged on one small point in space. The amount of destructive power unleashed in that moment could have destroyed a small moon. Observer recorded it all. His instruments captured every weapon discharge, every missile trail, every energy signature. He expected to record a brief flash of an explosion followed by rapidly dispersing debris. He had his conclusion ready. The human ship lasted exactly 1.3 seconds before total structural failure. But that's not what happened. The light show was spectacular. The weapon's fire created a sphere of pure destruction centered on where the Indomitable had been. For 3 full seconds, the assault continued, then raised his hand and the firing stopped. The light faded. The weapons fell silent. And in the space where the human ship should have been nothing but scattered atoms, the Indomitable floated peacefully, completely unharmed. Around it, visible now in the weapon's glow, was a shimmer, a field of some kind like ripples on water made of light. Every weapon that had struck it had been absorbed or deflected. Nothing had touched the ship itself. "Impossible," Kay breathed. Stared at the display. His 4 hands gripped his command chair so hard the metal groaned. "What is that? What kind of shield is that?" No one had an answer. Shields could be overwhelmed with enough firepower. Every species' shields could. That was basic physics. Shields were energy fields that could only absorb so much before failing. But this shield had just absorbed the combined firepower of 847 warships without even flickering. Lee's voice came through the communication channel again. "Your turn is over, Warlord. Now it's ours." The Indomitable began to move. It wasn't fast. It didn't need to be. It glided through the sphere formation like a shark through a school of fish. The ships tracked it with their weapons but didn't fire. They were waiting for orders, waiting for their warlord to tell them what to do. "Fire again," shouted. "All weapons, continuous assault. Don't stop until that ship is dust." The fleet opened fire again. This time they didn't stop after 3 seconds. They fired continuously, pouring every ounce of their destructive capability into destroying the human ship. Energy weapons overheated and had to be cycled. Missile magazines ran low, but still they fired. And still the Indomitable glided forward, untouched. "Captain," said, "their weapons are starting to overheat. Some of their systems are going into emergency shutdown." "They're panicking," said. She watched the tactical display with fascination. "They're firing everything because they don't know what else to do." Lee nodded. "Chief, release the swarms." "With pleasure," Captain said. From ports along the Indomitable's hull, something began to emerge. It looked like smoke at first, dark clouds streaming from the ship. But it wasn't smoke. It was millions of microscopic machines, each one smaller than a grain of sand, each one programmed with specific instructions. The swarms moved fast. They spread through space at nearly the speed of light, invisible to the naked eye, barely showing up on sensors. They reached the nearest ships in seconds. On the Devastator, warning alarms began to sound. "What now?" demanded. "Unknown contacts," Kay said, his voice tight with confusion. "Millions of them, too small to target individually. They're making contact with our hull." "There," he stopped. His four eyes went wide. "My lord, they're inside our systems. They're in the power grid, the weapons network, the shield generators. They're everywhere. Purge them, shut down affected systems, and reboot." "We're trying, but they're adapting faster than we can respond." "There." The lights on the bridge flickered. Then the weapon displays went dark. Then the shields fell. All across the Devastator, systems began to fail, not catastrophically, not explosively. They simply stopped working. And it wasn't just the Devastator. Across the entire fleet, ship after ship went dark. Weapons powered down. Shields collapsed. Engines died. In less than 8 minutes, 847 warships became 847 floating pieces of metal, completely harmless. Stood on his dark bridge, lit only by emergency lights. Around him, his warriors stared at their dead consoles in shock. In all their conquests, in all their battles, nothing like this had ever happened. "Warlord," Lee's voice came through. The communication system still worked. The humans had left that active on purpose. "Your fleet is disabled, your ships are intact, your crews are unharmed, but you cannot fight, you cannot threaten Earth, you cannot threaten anyone." His breathing was heavy, his four hands clenched into fists. "What have you done to us?" "We've shown you that humanity doesn't need to destroy to win," Lee said. "We could have built weapons that would tear your ships apart. We could have killed every warrior in your fleet. But we chose a different path. You're alive because we wanted you alive." Observer stared at his displays in absolute shock. He had witnessed something impossible. A single ship had defeated an entire fleet without firing a single weapon, without destroying a single vessel. He would report this. The galaxy would see this. And nothing would ever be the same. The fleet floated in the nebula like dead whales in an ocean. Emergency lights flickered on darkened bridges. Warriors who had never known defeat sat at useless consoles, trying to understand what had happened to them. On the Devastator paced his bridge. Each footstep echoed in the silence. His warriors watched him, waiting for orders, but he had none to give. How do you fight an enemy that doesn't fight back? How do you defeat a force that simply makes you irrelevant? "Subcommander K," he said finally, "can we restore any systems?" Kay had been working at his console for the past hour, running diagnostics on equipment that refused to respond. "No, my lord. The human machines are still inside our systems. Every time we try to restart something, they shut it down again. They're not destroying anything. They're just preventing us from using it." "So we're prisoners," said bitterly. "In a sense, life support still functions. We have air, water, basic power. But weapons, shields, engines, communications beyond local range, all disabled." Looked at it still worked too. The humans had left them able to see. Through the purple clouds of the nebula, he could see the Indomitable moving among his fleet. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't gloating. It was just there, calm and steady, like a teacher observing students who had failed a test. "They're studying us," Kay said quietly, "watching to see what we'll do." "What can we do?" slammed one fist against his command chair. "We are the Dominion. We have conquered 42 worlds. We are feared across the galaxy, and one small ship made us helpless." Inside the Indomitable, the mood was very different. The bridge crew worked efficiently, monitoring the disabled fleet, ensuring the swarms continued to function properly. There was no celebration, no cheering. This wasn't a victory to be proud of. It was just necessary. Lee watched the tactical display showing the fleet. 847 red dots, all stationary, all harmless. He felt no satisfaction, only a deep weariness. He had hoped it wouldn't come to this. He had hoped they would listen to reason. "Captain," said, "we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. High Al wishes to speak with you." "Put him through." The shifted to show Al's alien face. His expression was difficult to read, but his voice carried shock and confusion. "Captain Lee, the Council has been observing the battle. We have witnessed what happened. We need an explanation." "What needs explaining?" Lee asked. "Your ship's capabilities, that shield, those machines. Nothing in our records suggests humanity has this level of technology. Where did it come from?" Lee leaned back in his chair. "We built it. Over the past 50 years, Earth's scientists worked on projects that other species ignored. We didn't focus on bigger guns or stronger armor. We focused on problems everyone said were unsolvable." "Unsolvable," Al repeated. "What problems?" "Perfect energy absorption, molecular machines capable of infiltrating any electronic system, gravity manipulation on the quantum level." Lee gestured to his ship. "The galaxy has been refining the same basic technologies for thousands of years, making weapons more powerful, shields stronger, engines faster. But the fundamental approach hasn't changed. We took a different path." "Why didn't you reveal this technology before? Why let the galaxy believe you were weak?" "Because we're not conquerors," Lee said simply. "We don't want to dominate other species. We don't want an empire. We just want to be left alone to live our lives. But when someone threatens us, we defend ourselves." Al was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "What will you do with the fleet?" "That depends on Warlord." In his darkened bridge, heard his name. The humans had left his communication system connected to the Council channel. They wanted him to hear this conversation, wanted him to understand his position. "Captain Lee," said, his voice rough, "I am listening." "Warlord," Lee said, "I'm going to give you a choice. You can leave this place. I can restore basic function to your ships. Engines only. No weapons, no shields, just enough power to get you home. In return, you will withdraw all claims on Earth and agree to a peace treaty." "And if I refuse?" "Then you stay here. Your ships become permanent fixtures in this nebula. Your warriors will have to be rescued by others, one by one, towed back to you in the cargo holds of merchant ships. The shame would be considerable." His 4 hands gripped his chair. Every instinct screamed at him to refuse, to fight, to never surrender. But he was a warrior, not a fool. He understood when a battle was lost. "You said I have a choice. It doesn't sound like much of a choice." "It's more than you offered us," Lee said quietly. The truth of that statement hit hard. He had demanded total surrender. He had threatened extinction. And when humanity refused, he had tried to destroy them utterly. But the humans had defeated him and still offered mercy, still gave him a path home, still preserved his life and the lives of his warriors. "Tell me something," Human said. "Why didn't you destroy us? You could have. Those machines of yours could have torn my ships apart from the inside. You could have killed us all." Lee looked directly at as if he could see through it to the warlord beyond. "Because killing you wouldn't prove anything except that we can kill. We don't want the galaxy to fear us. We want the galaxy to respect us. There's a difference." "Respect," said the word slowly, tasting it. "You want respect from those who would have destroyed you." "Yes, because respect can lead to understanding. Understanding can lead to peace. Fear just leads to more violence." Stood up, he walked to and stared at the image of the small human captain. The man looked tired, not triumphant, not cruel, just tired, as if this whole situation saddened him. "You are strange, Human, strange and dangerous in ways I didn't expect. I accept your terms. Restore our engines. We will leave, and we will not trouble Earth again." "Thank you," Lee said. "Don't thank me yet," said. "What happened here will spread across the galaxy. Other species will want your technology. Some will try to steal it. Some will try to force you to share it. You've solved one problem but created many more." "We'll face those challenges when they come," Lee said. "Right now, let's focus on getting you home safely." His voice came through the intercom. "Captain, I can start the recall sequence on the swarms. It'll take about 30 minutes to pull them all back and restore basic engine function to the ships." "Do it, Chief." On the Devastator and across the fleet, warriors felt their ships come alive again. Not fully, not the powerful war machines they had been, but enough. Engines hummed with low power. Navigation systems flickered to life. It was humiliating to be given back these scraps of function by the enemy they had tried to annihilate, but it was better than floating helplessly in the nebula forever. Observer recorded everything. His instruments captured the swarms returning to the Indomitable, drawn back like iron filings to a magnet. They documented the ships slowly moving out of formation, heading back toward their territory at reduced speed. This would be his greatest report. The day the Dominion was defeated without a single death. The day humanity revealed itself to be something far more than anyone expected. Captain said, "The fleet is departing. Warlord sends his final message. He says to tell you that you fought with honor." Lee nodded. "Send him our wishes for a safe journey home." Looked up from her medical station. "Captain, I'm reading stress levels across the crew. We're all exhausted. This has been intense." "I know," Lee said. "Once they are clear of the nebula, we'll set course for home. Everyone deserves rest." But Minyu was studying his console with a frown. "Captain, I'm picking up new contacts. Multiple ships entering the nebula from different vectors. They're not." "Identify them," Lee ordered. "Working on it. I'm reading signatures, vessels, even some ships from the Syndicate. They're all just sitting at the edge of the nebula, watching." "The word has spread," said. "The galaxy knows what happened. They're coming to see the human ship that defeated the—" Lee felt the weight of hundreds of eyes on his small vessel. Every species in the region was probably watching now, recording, analyzing, trying to understand how humans had achieved the impossible. "Captain," Al's voice came through again. "I'm seeing reports of ships converging on your position. I can send Council peacekeepers if you need protection." "Thank you, High, but that won't be necessary. We're heading home." "One more question before you go," Al said. "The technology you demonstrated today, will you share it with the Council?" Lee smiled slightly. "Perhaps, when the time is right, when trust has been earned, not before." "I understand," Al said. "Captain Lee, the Council acknowledges that Earth has proven itself capable of defending its interests. We will update your species' status accordingly. You are no longer classified as a developing civilization. You are now recognized as a sovereign power with full rights and protections under Council law." "Thank you, High." The communication ended. Lee looked around his bridge at his tired but proud crew. They had done it. They had faced impossible odds and prevailed, not through violence or cruelty, but through intelligence and restraint. They had proven that humanity deserved its place among the stars. "Commander," Lee said, "set course for Earth. It's time to go home." The Indomitable turned gracefully in space and began its journey back toward the small blue planet that had built it. Behind them, the tiers of nebula slowly returned to its peaceful beauty, no longer a battlefield but just another wonder of the cosmos. The Galactic Council chambers had never been so full. Representatives from nearly every known species crowded the vast circular space. They came from systems far and wide, all wanting to witness what would happen next. The humans had shocked everyone. Now everyone wanted answers. Ambassador Park walked to the center of the floor again. This time no one laughed. The silence was heavy and expectant. He carried himself with the same quiet dignity as before, but now when he looked around at the assembled species, they looked back with respect tinged with uncertainty. High Al spoke first. "Ambassador Park, the Council has reviewed the complete records of the engagement at Tiers of. We have all data through multiple independent sources. What your vessel accomplished was extraordinary. The Council wishes to understand humanity's intentions now that your capabilities are known." Park clasped his hands behind his back. "Our intentions haven't changed, High. We want peaceful coexistence with all species. We want trade, cultural exchange, and mutual respect. We don't seek dominion over others." "And yet you possess technology that could make dominion easy," said Ambassador, a crystalline being whose voice rang like bells. "You could disable any fleet. You could make any world helpless. How do we know you won't use this power to conquer us?" "Because conquest has never been humanity's goal," Park said. "We developed these technologies for defense, not aggression. We wanted to ensure that no one could threaten that's all." "But now that you have this power," another ambassador began. "We've always had this power," Park interrupted gently. "We've had it for 20 years. We chose not to reveal it. We could have used it to intimidate others, to extract concessions, to build an empire. But we didn't. That should tell you about our character." Murmurs spread through the chamber. 20 years. Humanity had possessed this capability for 2 decades and never used it except when directly threatened. This changed how many species viewed the situation. Warlord stood in the visitors section. He had been summoned to give testimony about the battle. His presence drew many stares. The mighty warlord, defeated and humbled, he walked down to the floor when called. "Warlord," Al said, "you faced the human vessel in combat. Tell the council what you observed." His 4 arms hung at his sides. His voice was steady but held no pride. "I observed the end of everything I thought I knew about warfare. My fleet outnumbered them 847 to 1. We fired 12,000 weapons simultaneously. We should have vaporized them in seconds. Instead, they absorbed everything we had without effort." "Describe the human attack," Al prompted. "There was no attack," said. "Not in any traditional sense. They released swarms of microscopic machines that infiltrated our systems. Within 8 minutes, my entire fleet was disabled. But here is what you must understand. They could have destroyed us. Those machines could have torn our ships apart from within. They could have killed every warrior. But they didn't. They simply made us harmless and then offered us safe passage home." "Why do you think they showed such restraint?" Al asked. Looked directly at Park. "Because they wanted to make a point. They wanted to show that power doesn't require cruelty. That victory doesn't require extermination. They defeated us completely and then treated us with more mercy than we would have shown them." The chamber fell silent. Hearing the warlord speak this way was shocking. They were known for their ruthlessness. To hear one of their leaders acknowledge being defeated so thoroughly and then praise the enemy who defeated him was unprecedented. A new voice spoke up. It was Ambassador Ra from the Syndicate, a coalition of merchant worlds. "Ambassador Park, many species are interested in obtaining your technology. We would pay handsomely for it. Name your price." Park shook his head. "It's not for sale." "We could form an alliance," Ra pressed. "We could offer you resources, planets, positions of power within our organization." "We don't need those things," Park said. "And even if we did, we wouldn't share this technology yet. Not until we're certain it would be used responsibly." "Who are you to judge responsibility?" demanded a reptilian ambassador from the back. "You barely have a dozen colonies. You've been in space for barely a century. What gives you the right to withhold knowledge from the rest of us?" Park's expression didn't change. "The same right that allows any species to keep its secrets. We didn't steal this technology from others. We didn't discover it by accident. We created it through decades of hard work and brilliant minds. It's ours to share or not share as we see fit." "Some might try to take it by force," another ambassador warned. "They could try," Park said calmly, "but I would strongly advise against it. Earth is not defenseless. The Indomitable is not our only vessel with these capabilities." That caused a stir. Multiple ships. How many? What other surprises did humanity have waiting? Al raised his hand for silence. "The Council recognizes humanity's right to maintain control of its own technology. However, we must address the broader implications. Your vessel's capabilities have disrupted the galactic balance of power. Many species are now uncertain about their security. What assurances can Earth provide?" Park nodded. He had expected this question. Earth proposes a series of non-aggression pacts with any species that wishes one. We will formally commit to using our capabilities only in self-defense or defense of our allies. We will not initiate hostilities. We will not seek to expand through conquest. And we will consider carefully requests for alliance from species who share our values. And if someone attacks your allies, asked Ambassador, a floating jellyfish-like creature, then we will defend them, Park said, just as we would defend ourselves. Over the following hours, the council session continued. Species after species approached Park with questions, offers, and concerns. He answered each one patiently. Some ambassadors were hostile, viewing humanity as a threat. Others were curious and hopeful, seeing potential for alliance. A few were calculating, already planning how to turn this new power dynamic to their advantage. When the session finally ended, Park returned to Earth's embassy station. Minister Hansara was waiting for him in a secure conference room. With her was Captain Lee, who had arrived from the Indomitable just hours before. "How did it go?" Hansara asked. "As well as could be expected," Park said. He sat down heavily. The day had been exhausting. "The galaxy is adjusting. We've received 7 requests for formal alliances, 14 offers to purchase our technology, and 3 thinly veiled threats." "Only 3 threats," Lee said with a slight smile. "I expected more." "Give it time," Hansara said. "Once the shock wears off, more will come. We need to be prepared." She activated a holographic display showing a star map. "I've been meeting with the Defense Committee. We've accelerated production on the new vessels. The Indomitable has 12 sisters under construction. They should be operational within 2 years. "Different capabilities?" Lee asked. "Each one specialized," Hansara confirmed. "One focused on planetary defense, another on deep space operations, a third designed for rapid response. We're building a fleet that can protect not just Earth but all our colonies and allies." Park studied the map. "We need to be careful. We've shown we can defend ourselves. But if we build too aggressively, others will see us as a threat. We'll trigger an arms race." "We're already in an arms race," Hansara said. "Our intelligence shows several species have begun crash programs to develop similar technologies. They won't succeed quickly. What we've done required decades of foundational research. But eventually, someone will figure it out." "Then we stay ahead," Lee said. "We keep innovating. We keep finding new solutions to old problems." "And we build alliances," Park added. "We find species who share our values. We prove that we're trustworthy partners, not would-be conquerors." Hansara nodded. "I've already identified potential allies. They are interested. So are the both value knowledge and peaceful cooperation. There are others too, species who've been pushed around by the larger powers and would welcome a strong friend." Over the next weeks, Earth's diplomatic corps worked tirelessly. Treaties were signed. Trade agreements were established. Cultural exchange programs began. Slowly, carefully, humanity built a network of relationships across the galaxy. The Dominion surprisingly kept their word. They all claims on Earth and requested a formal peace treaty. Warlord himself came to Earth to sign it. He walked through human cities, saw human culture, met human people. When he left, he told his warriors that humans were not prey. They were equals. Some disagreed, but's word carried weight. 6 months after the battle at Tears of, Captain Lee stood on the observation deck of a newly completed orbital station above Earth. Next to him stood Commander. They watched as the second human vessel of the new fleet performed its final tests before commissioning. "She's beautiful," said. The ship was larger than Indomitable, with sleek lines and purpose-built systems. "They all are," Lee agreed. "Each one represents the best of what we can do." "Do you think we'll have to use them?" asked. "I hope not," Lee said, "but if we do, we'll be ready." Below them, Earth turned slowly in space. The blue and green planet that had once been dismissed as insignificant, as easy prey for any larger power, Now it was recognized as a force to be respected, not because humans were the strongest, not because they were the most advanced, but because they had proven they would stand up for themselves and do so with intelligence and restraint. In the council chambers, Ambassador Park addressed a smaller session. Representatives from 30 species gathered to discuss a mutual defense pact. These were the species who had chosen to align with Earth, the species who valued cooperation over conquest. "We stand here today because we believe in something simple," Park said, "that every species has the right to live free from fear. That strength should protect the weak, not prey upon them. That the future of the galaxy should be built on respect and mutual benefit, not domination and fear." The ambassadors voted. The pact was approved unanimously. Earth now had formal allies, species who would stand with them, species they would stand with in return. That evening, Minister Hansara met with her senior staff. They reviewed reports from across human space. The colonies were thriving. Trade was expanding. Scientific cooperation with alien species was producing new discoveries. The defense fleet was growing steadily. "We did it," one of her advisors said. "We secured our place in the galaxy." Hansara smiled slightly. "We secured our current place, but the galaxy is always changing. We need to stay vigilant, stay innovative, stay true to our values." "And if someone challenges us again?" the advisor asked. Hansara's expression became serious. "Then we'll handle it the same way we handled with intelligence, with strength, with mercy when possible, and with whatever force is necessary when it's not." She pulled up a classified file on her console. Inside were schematics for technologies even more advanced than what Indomitable carried. Humanity wasn't done innovating. They would never be done. Every challenge was an opportunity to learn. Every problem was a puzzle to solve. The galaxy had mocked when humans sent one vessel. They had learned that mockery was a mistake. They had learned that humanity was more than they appeared, more capable, more determined, more dangerous than anyone had imagined. But most importantly, they had learned that humanity could be trusted, that humans kept their word, that they used their power responsibly, that they valued life, even enemy life. It was this last lesson that mattered most, because power without restraint was just tyranny. Victory without mercy was just cruelty. Humanity had shown that they understood this, that they could be strong without being brutal, that they could win without destroying. And so the galaxy adjusted to its new reality, a reality where Earth was not prey, where humans were not victims, where one small species from a minor world had proven that intelligence, creativity, and moral courage could matter more than size or age or ancient power. The story would be told for generations. The day the galaxy mocked, the day one ship arrived, the day everything changed. And when young humans looked up at the stars in the years to come, they would do so knowing that their species had earned its place among them, not through conquest or fear, but through the strength of their minds and the courage of their convictions. They had sent one vessel, and it had been enough.